Today we're going to take a look at these Atlas GP40-2s. I have a Norfolk Southern version with DCC and sound, and two Union Pacific versions that are DCC ready. However, we'll also look at how easy it is to upgrade the DCC ready versions to full DCC with a very simple drop-in decoder swap. Anyway, let's take a look at these locomotives. Okay, first off, what's the difference between a GP38-2 and a GP40-2? Since they look basically the same. Well, they pretty much are the same locomotive, with the main difference being the 40-2 has a turbocharged V16 engine, and the GP38-2 has a normally aspirated engine. And that turbocharger in the GP40-2 gives it a lot more horsepower, so you get 3,000 horsepower instead of 2,000 horsepower out of that engine. But otherwise, they are very similar, and most of these are still in operation today. A lot of them have been rebuilt, upgraded with additional electronics and all those types of modern things. But otherwise, for the most part, most of these are still in operation today. Anyway, let's take a look at the DCC version of this GP40-2 first, and then we'll look at doing a DCC upgrade on the DC versions. So this Atlas GP40-2 with DCC and sound looks identical to the DC version that you see on the left here. Obviously, they're different color schemes, being Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern, but otherwise the details are the same on both, at least those that are appropriate to that particular road name. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get this on the track, take a closer look at it, and see what all the sound functions sound like. So here's the list of what all different DCC functions do with this locomotive, and so we'll go through a few of those. Okay, let's do the startup sequence. Do the bell. Horn. Coupler. So some of these I won't hear until it's moving. Flange squeal. Try stopping and reversing over a turnout. Anyway, you can see this locomotive runs really smoothly on DCC through the turnouts, no stalling problems or anything, so really nice operation. Anyway, let's take a closer look at this locomotive so you can see all the details, and we'll go ahead and install DCC in my other two Atlas GP40-2s. And because it's kind of hard to see some of the details with the black color scheme of the Norfolk Southern, here is a Union Pacific version. Anyway, you can see these are really nice locomotives, so now let's go ahead and do a DCC upgrade to the two Union Pacific DC versions. So upgrading the DCC ready versions of these Atlas GP40-2s really couldn't be easier. The DCC versions use ESU decoder boards, and so the easiest way to upgrade them is to also pick up DCC decoder boards. Now there are two versions available. This is just the regular DCC version. However, they also have the DCC with sound version, which is quite a bit more money. The DCC versions with no sound are in the mid-30s range, in the $35–40 range for each decoder. However, if you get the DCC with sound version, you are going to be looking at something around $100 or so for that decoder. So definitely a lot more money to go with sound in these upgrades. However, the upgrades themselves are basically the same. Obviously, you have to worry about a speaker and having that wired if you are doing the sound version, but with just DCC only, the upgrade is very, very easy. So of course, the first step is to remove the shell from these locomotives, and that is extremely easy to do. These just slide carefully, but you can slide them straight off. You have to kind of wiggle them a little bit side to side, but you don't have to remove the couplers. You can just pull the shells straight off. And these boards are very easy to remove. All you do is literally push them forward and pop them off, and you're done. And as you might expect, upgrading to DCC is literally the reverse process. However, getting it out of the package is going to take the longest out of all the steps involved. There we go. And there is some tape here, just have to be careful to not try to grab a decoder board and break the tape with the board itself, since you might damage the board doing that. But you can see if you compare these two boards, they are basically the same size and have the same overall shape, so they do just literally drop right in. You'll just press the board down, slide it backwards, and that's it. Push the shell back on, and we now have a DCC version of this GP40-2. So super, super easy upgrade. Let's try it on the layout and see how it runs in DCC. This one I set up in reverse mode, so when it's forward on the controller, it's going to go backwards. So this way they'll both go in the same direction. I didn't try to speed match them. It's a really small layout. They're not going to be going very far in any given direction to where that's much of an issue, and they are the exact same locomotive, so the speeds are really close anyway out of the box. Speed matching would be important longer term if you're trying to run these on a larger layout. If you run them one at a time, they will stall at speed step 1 or 2 on these turnouts in some places. However, running them together, they'll keep on going through the turnout, just because if one does stall a bit, the other one will basically be there to push it along. And the same thing is true in DC mode. These locomotives will stall individually, going at very, very slow speeds across these turnouts, but coupled together, they will make it through without any issue at all. And I had planned to put in keep-alive capacitors in these locomotives, but I do like them running together in a consist like this, and so I'm probably just going to keep it like this and not bother with the capacitors until I have to run them individually on a different layout or something like that. They do run really nice together like this, even through all these turnouts, so no real problems at all. Individually, though, they will stall out at speed step 1 or 2, at least on my layout, through those turnouts. Now, I haven't cleaned the track at all, and so if I did, it probably would help a little bit more. But overall, pretty happy for the most part with how these run together. Now, the question is, can you still run them in DC mode with these decoders? And so let's find out. Okay, so now I have DC power going to the track. Oh, they are still going opposite directions. All right, so that is a problem. And no matter which way it's facing, they'll go in opposite directions, and they'll fight. But anyway, if we just run them one at a time, you can see you can still run them in DC mode on the layout. Anyway, that's just a quick look at these GP40-2 locomotives. Really nice detail overall, really nice performance as well, whether you have the DCC or the DC version of these locomotives. And if you want to upgrade the DC to DCC, a very, very simple decoder swap is all that's needed, about as easy as it can get. So anyway, I do like these locomotives a lot. That's why I bought 3 of them so far. And if you are in the market for a GP40-2, these are definitely ones to consider. But anyway, that's all for now, and thanks for watching. Bye.